What's the worst way you've been embarrassed by a child? I was bagging a lady's groceries and her kid asked me, "Why are you so fat?" My brilliant comeback was, "Why are you so short?" To which he replied, "I'm not short, I'm 5. Hahaha, I hate it when kids have that quick witty comeback that they don't fully realize is witty. When my son was 6, walking through LAX and he's complaining that I wouldn't get him donuts, running late for our flight, I'm holding his hand and walking along and all of a sudden he stops and starts screaming, "Stop it, I don't know you. Somebody help me, I don't know this man." I'm snarling at him under my breath, "Dude, you gotta stop that right now, you can't say that crap. That's not funny." But oh no, he keeps it up until the cops show up. Missed flight. Everyone staring like I was some piece of crap trying to kidnap an innocent kid. Did not get him donuts. Sorry kid, you look just like my son. Anyways, I've got a plane to catch. Bye. I don't remember this story but my mom tells it all the time. When I was 5, my mom took me into the stall in the women's restroom because she had to go. She had been in there a while and the bathroom had been crowded, so she asked me, mindful muser, "Can you take a look and see if there is a big line out there?" I excitedly screamed, "A line," and flung the stall door open. There was a big line. I'm a preschool teacher. We were on the outside playground and it was a hot day. A kid fell off the swing set, so I rush over to check on him. He's full on sobbing, leans against my body, then pulls away suddenly yelling, "I don't like the smell of you." I couldn't even laugh it off. Might have just been your perfume. I had a teacher in elementary school whose smell I really didn't like. I found out much later that smell was Chanel No. 5. Child me just didn't care for it. Took my 4-year-old swimming. At the completion I took him to the men's locker and getting into dry clothes. Amidst dressing he says loud enough for all to hear, "I love your penis, Dad." My dad took me swimming when I was little and I saw his jockstrap. I asked him what was it for. He replied, "It's to hold the family jewels." For years I thought he was carrying mom's jewelry around in that thing. My little sister is 10 years younger than me. When we were maybe 5 and 15 or so respectively, we were walking through a restaurant parking lot when a big group of bikers exited to their bikes. These guys had the leather get-up, the bandanas on their heads, chains, the works. My sister pointed to them and exclaimed, "Look, pirates." They didn't think it was funny. Then they didn't have a sense of humor, because that's freaking hilarious. My wife was out with my 2-year-old daughter who pointed at a lady wearing a traditional Indian dress and stated "P-head." The lady probably heard "P-head," but what daughter was trying to pronounce was "princess." My little brother likes to tell people that my tummy may look like it's full of fat, but it's actually full of love. It's both sweet and awkward. My child was 3 while we were waiting in a doctor's office. An exquisitely dressed elderly woman was sitting next to us and started talking to my son. Kid is fascinated by all the sparkly jewels and such, and says, "I love your shiny necklace, and your pretty earrings, and your yellow teeth." My daughter said she loves my Mill's wrinkly neck because it's soothing to play with while she cuddles. I died, but my Mill laughed and said, "Oh well, now I like it too. Sometimes the awful things they say can give you a different perspective, I guess." I'm still mortified. I had some people over and my 4-year-old nephew starts shouting, "Is anyone here afraid of spiders?" Once he had everyone's attention. He told us all that if anyone was afraid of spiders they needed to leave because he found cobwebs, and cobwebs mean spiders. He then proceeded to point out every single cobweb in the house to our guests. My friend's 5-year-old came over the other week and started pulling things and dust out from underneath the couch and told me I didn't clean well enough, haha. Then he opened up our linen closet and told me it smelled bad. I had to take my 4-year-old to the doctor, and while we were in the waiting room a nearby toddler started crying very loudly, like scream crying for whatever reason. My son waits until the other kid stops, does a very dramatic lowering and shake of his head, then yells he has problems with emotions, mom, which is him trying to talk the way I talk to him when he's coping with big emotions, but good god the way it came out and the volume was mortifying. I love it, ha 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 ha. Made myself lunch yesterday. 2 sandwiches because one wouldn't cut it. My 8-year-old asked me if I was a bear eating to get ready for hibernation. Sick burn. That's where you respond, "Yes, and I'm going to eat you." When I was 8 years old, I had a girl in my class with Down syndrome. I always made it a point to be friendly with her and include her in things, and I even went over her house a few times. Halfway through the year, she would make up these bizarre scenarios and stories, and would drag me into them for some reason. The teacher would constantly call me out in the hall, and have these meetings with me about things I wasn't even involved in or knew anything about. I was a painfully shy 8-year-old, who didn't have a ton of friends, and hated all this and wanted attention. So I started to distance myself from the girl after that. She told her mom that I was leaving her out things because she was different. The mom told the school. The school called my mom and told them I was bullying her. But no one believed me when I told them she was making things up. I was 8 years old at the time. I'm 29 now. My mom constantly brings it up to random people and family members how I used to bully a girl with Down syndrome. But when I try to explain my side of the story, no one ever believes me. And also, I was 8. It was 21 years ago. Give it a rest. Oh wow, I relate a painful amount. I was bullied by a girl with some sort of mental disability, I think. She had a teaching aide with her at all times, and she lied to the teachers about me bullying her. That pretty much ruined my life for the next couple of years. I was miserable, and I'm still bitter about that incident. At a cafe with my eldest daughter, who was 4 at the time, the waitress comes over to our table and asks my daughter if she would like a drink or some food. My daughter looks up at her and says the parts of my drink that my body doesn't want come out as wee. The parts of my food that my body doesn't want come out as poo. That's a very smart 4-year-old. You should be proud. This was about a year ago, right before things started closing due to COVID. I forget exactly where I was, but I needed to pee, so my son and I went to the bathroom. We went into the handicap stall so there would be room. We'd been teaching him body parts at home, and right as I start to pee he yells out, "Daddy, your penis is way big. Mine's little but yours is so big. Daddy, your penis is big." I was all like SSHHHHH. Yes, it's bigger than yours because my body is bigger than yours. When we came out of the stall, everyone was averting their eyes. I don't think they were embarrassed or anything. I think they were just trying to pretend like they didn't hear anything for my sake. Dang, your kid unknowingly made you flex on all the dudes in the bathroom. I was on a plane trip with my 3-year-old. He used the tiny restroom than I did. There was a line. I thought I'd secured the door but hadn't. He slings the door open to tell me something he was excited about. There I sat in open humiliation for all the line to see. I had to convince him to let me shut the dang door. Upon seeing my younger cousin for the first time since I left for college, she shouted, "Oh my god, are you having a baby?" in front of my entire family. I wasn't pregnant. I gained that freshman 15. Instantly stopped drinking as much and started going to our campus gym every weekend when I returned to school. Hey, on the bright side, at least it motivated you to be more healthy. When I was 4, I kissed the delivery man on the lips from the local Chinese restaurant in front of my entire family. My mother told me to never do it again. I was embarrassed by myself, so it counts. I wonder what that guy felt like. Not me, but I once lived with 2 friends of mine when we were about 27. One friend had an 11-year-old brother, and he was staying with us for the week while his folks were out of town. Not being used to hanging out with little shithead 11-year-old boys, my one buddy Ned would joke around with the kid whenever he asked a question, and he asked a lot of questions. One day the kid asked Ned what he did for a living. Ned, trying to be funny, told him he was a doctor. He was not. The kid calls his bluff and asks what kind of doctor he was. Ned jokingly says, "I'm a butthole doctor," a response that naturally got an incredulous reaction out of the kid. Flash forward to a few days later and we are all out having lunch together. Ned runs into a girl he met on Tinder and introduces her to all of us, the kid included. When she meets the kid, she asks him jokingly, "Oh, so what do you think of Ned?" To which the kid responds, "He's a weird guy. He told me he's a butthole doctor. I don't really know if he ever saw that gal again." Oh no. Hilarious. But also yikes. My daughter watched me put a pad on one day. I wear some pretty giant pads. Out in public she was telling everyone mommy is wearing a diaper today. Happened to me as well. I had a conversation with mine about what it is and why I use it. Seemed to help. I was at work. I worked at the movie theater in my late teens at the ticket booth. A young girl came up with her mom and was like, "EWW mom, she's so ugly talking about me." She had to have been between 5'7". Her mom hit her and promptly apologized. And the little girl was like, "What? She is." I felt like utter crap the rest of the day. My 3-year-old son was with me in Macy's at a jewelry counter. I asked the clerk a question. My son asked, "Why does she have such a huge mark on her cheek?" The color draining out of my face. I quickly recovered and said, "That's where God kissed her." The woman said, "Congratulations. That's the best one I've heard so far." I call this tale short at a funeral, and to be fair, I guess I am to blame as well. My son's, then 3, great uncle had died and we were at the burial. Lots of older, religious relatives. When the priest started reading the Lord's Prayer, my son let out the loudest, longest, wettest sounding fart ever. I lost it. I tried so hard not to laugh but I just turned red and that made me cough, which made me laugh. The priest stopped the prayer and shot me daggers. I composed myself, and he continued. Then my kid ripped another fart, but this time he got this horrified look in his eye and whispered, "Not a fart." And I lost it again. I laughed so hard that my knees started to buckle and I had to excuse myself to bring my 3-year-old to the car for a change of pants and to explain the word shart. That's one way to lighten the mood. Not our kid, but my wife worked as a child minder and took some of the minded kids to a toddler group. One of the other kids started swearing, and his embarrassed mum said, "I'm so sorry, he picks up some dreadful language at playgroup." The kid piped up, "I don't go to fricking playgroup." At a store one day I was stuck by an urgent need to go to the bathroom. Had a 3-year-old with me, so I just hauled him in with me. I gave him my phone, but my pooping was a cacophony of "don't sit on the floor, don't touch that thing," etc. I created a single, enormous excretion, cleaned up and left. It was fine. Next time we went to a store he grabbed my hand and pulled me toward a bathroom. "Come on, Dad. I want to see a big poop." I taught my 11-month-old daughter to say clonk when she fell or ran into something. Her pronunciation wasn't fantastic though, which led to her running into a toy when my parents were visiting and shouting dong. My 2-year-old has the same mispronunciation but for the works cup, truck, and duck. She'll get excited and start saying dong over and over while we scramble to figure out what she is excited about. Sometimes she gets thirsty at night and wakes up and just screams, "Kyuk." We were getting our roof fixed and had to leave to run a quick errand. My 12-year-old, who was 5 at the time, said to the roof guy who was on the roof, "Hey, don't rob us while we're gone, 'cause black people always rob houses." I'm black and my husband is white. I was so embarrassed I wanted to cry. When we asked him why he thinks black people rob houses, he said the news. Yeah, we had a long talk with him. I can feel that talk from here. I am so sorry. My middle was about 7 and we are in line at a checkout and he's reading the magazine titles and he says, "Mom, this says what men really want in bed." What would men really want? Breakfast, yes. Breakfast. Well, you never take Dad breakfast in bed. The checkout lady is laughing hysterically, as is the lady behind me. These 3 boys of mine embarrass me on the regular. Oh man, that's hilarious. By child, I mean teen. Driving with my son, and saw a cloud that looked like a dong. I snickered, because I am not a mature adult. He looked up, asked what I was laughing at, and I told him cloud looks like a dong. He glanced at it and said, "I guess it kinda does, if you squint, and tilt your head just right, and spend all day thinking about dongs." Proud of that little crap. I was looking around in a clothing store, when paranoia came over me, as I was certain that there was something stuck on my dress. I scurried around and searched for a full-length mirror, that most clothing stores do have. When I managed to find one, I was checking myself out in this mirror as best as I could, to ease the paranoia I had. In doing so, this little girl approaches me with her mother, just a few feet away, takes one look at me, scoffs, and proceeds to tell me in her own words, that I'm not as beautiful as I think I am. Someone's growing up in a toxic environment. Poor kid, I bet your dress was cute. As a child I did this to my mum. When I was young, 5, my baby brother died. So, when my mum got pregnant again I was 7. I was very curious and wanted to know everything about what was going on. Cue my mum getting books from the library etc. with pictures of eggs being fertilized and how the fetus looks at various stages etc. 2 weeks later, upon seeing some tadpoles in a jar at a local festival. Look mummy sperms. Apparently my mum wanted the ground to swallow her up right there. Lmao. My 4 years old and I were waiting in line to grab a shopping cart at Walmart when she yells as loud as possible to the crowd of men, "Daddy, we are at the People's Zoo you talk about all the time, right?" I once told my mom out loud that I didn't want to hug my auntie because she was hairy. The worst part was she couldn't have kids and adored me because I was the youngest grandchild in the family. I learned a lesson in empathy that day and still feel terrible about it 25 plus years later. Sitting in a subway eating lunch. Back to the door. I hear a kid shriek "Daddy," then latches onto me. I was frozen with fear. I don't have any kids. When the kid releases and looks up, she realizes I'm not her dad and screams bloody murder. The mom profusely apologized. My 3-year-old child screaming "Help, help" as I'm carrying him to the car in the Walmart parking lot because he threw a temper tantrum in the middle of the store. My middle kid, he could scream like a soul in torment if he wasn't getting his way. How nobody called the police is a mystery. Got him to the car, sat him in his seat and put on his tunes, and a few minutes later he was calmed down, except for the occasional sniffles. Happened to my wife too once, and a lady got in her face and demanded to know why she was abusing the child. "No Karen, we're taking the child out of the situation so he can calm down. This is called good parenting." Now he's a lumbering kid of 15 and one of the most chill teenagers I know. My daughter hated the car seat. I would be trying to load her in the car with her screaming and crying "New, new." Eventually I would have to manhandle her in there. It's always fun when people stop to stare at you. I have PCOS, which causes me to grow facial hair. I don't mean little whiskers. If I were to let it grow, I'd have a beard. Anyways, one day, my friend's daughter, 4 at the time, was sitting on my lap just touching my face when she yells, "Why do you have hair on your face?" I didn't know what to say. It's a huge insecurity of mine and I almost cried. I just smiled. I think she realized that it hurt me because she just pushed her face into my neck. She's actually a very emotionally intelligent little girl, and gave me a big hug. She looked like she was going to cry too. I know everyone notices it because although I shave, I have very dark hair and very light skin, so you can still see stubble. It just hurts for anyone to point it out. In the same PCOS boat with you. Very aware of my hair and try to keep it under control, but it's hard and such an insecurity that I'm constantly aware of. I'm a portly fellow. Coming out of the supermarket about 3 springs ago and a Girl Scout asks me if I want to buy cookies. I pat my belly and say, "Does it look like I need any more cookies?" Without hesitation the little she-devil comes back with, "No, but it looks like you like cookies." Heck of a salesperson. I don't remember this. When I was very young, 2, 3, my dad took to the toilet and when he was peeing I shouted, "Wow dad, your will's massive," and a load of people started laughing. Must have been proud. I was playing with my niece when she was about 3, and we ended up covered in dirt. We didn't have time to run the bath, and considering her age, my sister asked if I'd just clean her in the shower with me. No problems. Several months later, niece is overtired and refusing to listen to adults at a family gathering. I asked her politely to stop throwing cushions and she screamed that I was not a grown up and she didn't need to listen to me. My sister proceeded to calm niece and then reminded her that I am a grown up and she needs to be respectful. In front of my entire extended family my niece explains that I can't be a grown up because I don't have any hair on my private parts, and my sister had told her that only little children don't have hair on their private parts. It has been many years. I have never lived this down. Oh my god. I had a 5-year-old ask me why I was white, lol. I mean, clearly she was just trying to understand the world around her and some things she might be hearing adults say, but it was still embarrassing, especially since I was the only white person in the room. Her dad luckily just quickly changed the subject, lol. When I was about 3, my mom had mentioned she was considering letting our housekeeper go. A few days later we see her in the local McDonald's. 3-year-old me looked this 40-year-old woman in the eye and said, "You're fired." My mother was mortified. My then 4-year-old cornered a mom and older child, 6-7, in a bathroom at the mall and informed her that her child is too old for a soother. And on another occasion, my other daughter, around 4, was complimented on being adorable by a group of older women, to which she replied, "I pooped water." When I was 15, I worked at a concession stand in an arena where I live. These two, very sweet, girls came up to the counter and started to talk to me. They were 6 and 7. We talked for a good 30 minutes. It was a very slow day. The older one asked how old I was. I told her I was 15. She then looked at me with a disgusted expression on her face and says, "Well, so you're gonna die soon, huh? Like you're real old." It was more awkward than embarrassing. In 7th grade I was a chubby kid. Also, I grew up poor, so I wore hand-me-downs of my dad. Think Ron Swanson type dad polos. No one talked to me or wanted to be friends with me. Some of the girls in the class decided to befriend me for a day and it felt incredible. Turns out it was a joke, and one of the girls ended the joke by saying, "Seriously? Your boobs are bigger than mine." No offense. We were joking. Relax. I laughed it off in class but walked home with tears in my eyes. 8th grade was much better. Made genuine friends. So we can all just collectively agree that 7th grade is literal heck. I remember one time I was at the beach pre-pandemic. Summer of 2019. I was in my swimsuit putting on sunblock when my little cousin, 7 years old, decided it would be a great idea to start slapping me. Not in a painful way, just slapping me in general. I'm relatively chubby, mainly having it all in my thighs, chest, and a little on my stomach. This suit has extended legs and arms and it makes me feel a little less awkward. Cousin starts slapping my thighs and making what she called fat noises, which were just gurgles. I was there with a bunch of my friends and they were laughing. Wasn't super embarrassing in general at the moment. What's embarrassing is that those same friends bring it up in public as a joke for a very long time, and they still bring it up. I'm just gonna say it. Frick your friends. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.